Okay, welcome for another video on quadratics. So last video we looked at this idea of solving a quadratic equation. And we said that what that really means is we want to know which values of x are going to make y equal to 0 using that particular equation. And we looked at a couple of different methods of doing that. We looked at the factorization method, so when you've got the equation in factorized form, how to solve the equation, and we looked at if we had completed the square, how to use that to find the solutions as well. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the quadratic formula, which actually can make our lives quite a bit easier. It's just another method of solving a quadratic. Now, give me a moment. So the quadratic formula says that if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Now, I would suggest writing that down into your book, even though you'd be writing all of this already, but this is a really important one and you'll probably end up memorizing it by the time we're done with it. This is actually a method that you can use to find the solutions of any quadratic equation that's in that general form. So it's a very handy little tool. Let me just give you a quick example first of all. So let's say we have been asked to solve the equation y equals x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay, so if we wanted to use our quadratic formula, what we do is we first need to look for a, b, and c. Since there's no number in front of x squared, for a, we know that a just must be equal to 1, because if you've got a 1 in front of an x squared, you don't write it. If we look at the number in front of x, that gives us b, which in this case is 5. And if we look at the number on the end, that is our number for c, which is 4. So now we go to our quadratic formula, and we say that x equals negative b, which is negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 5 squared, take 4 times by 1 times by 4, which is c. And then we're going to divide that by 2 times 1, which is a. Notice that I'm not writing multiplication signs, but I'm putting everything into brackets, which implies that they're being multiplied together. It's important to use the brackets because sometimes these numbers are going to be negative. I've chosen a very easy example here. We'll do a harder example in a moment, but if they were negative, it's really important to have the brackets because often you have to really think about all of the negative signs involved. Okay, next step, let's just simplify some of this. So that's going to be square root, negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared, which is 25. Take 4 times 1 times 4, which is 16. All divided by 2, and if we just simplify that down a bit more, that's going to be negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 9, all divided by 2. So we have, because we've got plus and minus, there's actually two potential answers. And we know that that's possible with quadratics for there to be two solutions because that just means that the graph cuts the x-axis twice. So the first possibility is that x equals negative 5 plus the square root of 9, which is 3, over 2. Negative 5 plus 3 is 2 over 2, which equals 1. Or the other possibility is that x equals negative 5 take the square root of 9, which is 3, all over 2. Negative 5 take 3 is negative 8 over 2, which gives us negative 4. So the two solutions for this equation are x equals, oh, and I have made a mistake, but I'm not going to delete the whole video, I'm just going to correct my mistake. Negative 5 plus 3, of course, is negative 2, which is negative 1. So I do have two solutions here. The first solution is negative 1, and the second solution is negative 4. Okay, so that was a pretty simple one. Let's do a slightly harder example. And this is where the quadratic formula becomes really, really useful. So let's say we are looking at a quadratic equation and we have something crazy like y equals 12.5 times x squared, take 550 times x plus 5,125. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to sit down and try and factorize that or try and complete the square on that. So pretty much our only solution if we wanted to solve that would be to use the quadratic formula. So let's have a look at these numbers. 12.5 is my A value. Negative 550 is my B value. And 5,125 is my C value. So I'm going to go back to my quadratic formula and say that the solutions are x equals negative B, which is negative 550. So I've used the brackets here. It's really important, like I was just saying. Plus or minus the square root of negative 550 squared. Take 4 times by A, which is 12.5, times C, which is 5,125. So I'm using all of those brackets, and then I'm going to divide by 2A, and A is 12.5. Alright, so this will take a bit of doing on your calculator. So that'll be 550 plus or minus the square root of, now I'm not going to go through this here, but you can basically punch this straight into your calculator and you should get 46,250. 2 times 12.5 is 25. So I've got two possible solutions because I've got plus and minus. The first one is where we do 550 plus the square root of 46,250, which is 215.06, and then I divide my answer by 25. And if I do that, I'll do that in a tick. The second option is that x equals, that should be 550. The second possibility is that x equals 550 take 215.06, all divided by 25. And then x equals 13.40. And if I go back to my first one, that comes out to 30.60. So two possible solutions there, and I've used the quadratic formula to do something that is pretty much impossible by our regular algebraic means. Okay, thanks for watching.